Welcome to the Iron Mind Podcast. Join me, Josh Brumley, as we explore the minds of those who forged their paths through legal battles, business triumphs, and creative conquests. In each episode, we sit down with inspiring individuals who sharpened their resolve in the fires of entrepreneurship and law. From lawyers breaking barriers to entrepreneurs overcoming obstacles, we uncover the stories behind their iron wills and innovative minds. Get ready for thought-provoking conversations, practical insights, and actionable advice. This is the Iron Mind Podcast. Welcome to the Iron Mind Podcast. In today's episode, we have the pleasure of speaking with Ayat Murad, the Homelessness Prevention Program Coordinator at the Iraqi Community Center of Washington. With a deep commitment to supporting immigrant communities and preventing homelessness, Ayat shares insights into the vital work being done at the center, addressing the unique challenges faced by the Iraqi community in Washington. Join us as we delve into Ayat's journey, the mission of the Iraqi Community Center, success stories, challenges faced, and how listeners can support this important cause. Welcome to the show, Ayat.
Thank you for having me.
Yes. So tell us a little bit about your background and how you came to work at the Iraqi Community Center here in Kent.
Okay. It kind of goes way back. Very coincident. Way back in December of 2017, a friend of mine invited me to volunteer for their Christmas drive and, giving out gifts to kids. Once I went to the center and I saw the great work that they were doing there, I just started volunteering. I would go in whenever I have time. Sometimes I would be there just like a full-time employee would be going there over time. And then I started doing an internship with them because I couldn't do volunteering and study at the same time.
Right.
Where I was studying at the University of Washington, getting my psychology degree. But my heart was still with the community and I wanted to do something. So I figured out an internship to do with the center. And back then, 2018, it was their senior program, which is one of their biggest programs right now. And from there, I went back to school and came back after a while. I was looking for a job. And again, by coincidence, I was offered this position of, managing the homelessness prevention program. And I was so happy. I did not think twice. Yeah. Accepted their offer. And I'm just so happy to see the clients walking out with something. It's not always financial, even though we do have the financial part of it, but it's not always the financial part. Yeah.
Can you tell us more about what all of the programs that the Iraqi Community Center offers? So if someone's not familiar, they can become familiar with the center?
Sure. It starts with the homelessness prevention, which basically is offers families to have their own independence. So we basically empower them to be independent and have stable housing. That's one of it. We have our after-school programs. We have our early childhood programs. We have our senior village or senior program, which I said is one of our biggest programs. We have social services. And, with each program, there's always sub-programs to it.
Wow.
So with the after-school, you have after-school, and then you have an Arabic school. With the early childhood, you have two different programs, one focused with the child, one focused with the parent. With social services, we have a case manager specifically, for example, if a client have been here for 5 years or less, or another case manager for somebody that's been here for more than 5 years.
I see.
So it doesn't matter your age group, your sex, how long you've been in the United States, your English level. You're always welcome, and there's always somebody to help.
And so who do you recommend get involved with the center? Like, how do you find people in the community who need your assistance? Okay.
We're always outreaching. I know that we have two people that do outreach where they go out in the community when there are events happening. We're having our own tables, flyers. We have our social media platforms. I believe we have two different platforms where we share what we do.
Yeah. And I'm an active follower on those platforms.
I've seen that. Thank you for that. It's It's all connected. And then the community itself as well. So each case manager or each person that works there, we come from families and friends and groups, and we go to different events and we're meeting different people. So we're always, when you get-togethers or gatherings, and, you ask about what they're doing. And when I tell them where I'm working, I'm going to elaborate more. And then they're like, oh, maybe, somebody needs your help. So, yeah.
So it's a lot of word of mouth.
It is. And we're also connected with the government. For example, 211, that's the number one resource for anybody that needs any kind of help. That doesn't matter if you're an immigrant, citizen. We're under that umbrella too, our agency. If you call 211, I know that many of my clients that are not Arabic speaking, that do come to me, and I ask them, where did you find me? They say from 211.
Wow, okay.
Yeah,
That's a great resource. Okay,
yeah.
Great. So if anyone's listening, 211, get you some resource access.
Yeah.
Can you tell us about the role that you have and what that day-to-day looks like for you?
Oh, day-to-day is very different. Because I was talking to Dylan. I am the homelessness prevention program manager, but at the same time, I don't limit myself to that, right? Most of our clients, if not all of them, are walk-in. So if I'm not doing something with my program, or if my client doesn't have an appointment, or one of my clients is not my walk-in, if I see other clients in the lobby and my coworkers are busy, I'm walking out, asking them what they need. And if it's something that I'm able to do, I'm not going to have them wait for another case manager just because that's not my role.
Right.
We're a small organization. Our management always says that we're like a family. We always have each other's back.
Yeah.
And, if my coworker is busy, it's not like I'm going to shut my door and say that's not my role.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you get what I'm saying, It's different day to day.
Okay.
But with the program itself, we go back to King County. So it's with King County based. Our clients have to live in King County to qualify for this program specifically. And like I said, it's social services based as well as financial based. The main goal is not to just give out money and, the client not knowing what to do. Our main goal is to empower the client, for them to be independent, for them to have resources, how to access resources, and to understand the system of how to keep a stable house.
Okay.
That could mean finding them a job, or if that job that they have is not, it's not a good flow based on their budget and their expenses. We go through that. Like, we talk about budget, we talk about expenses, so that the job that they have
serves the needs that they have.
Thank you.
Yeah.
There you go.
So it's a lot of getting really involved with someone's whole life.
Thank you for saying that, because that's exactly what we do. We don't get personal, but we get personal enough to help them, reach that stability that they need.
Right.
And, over a certain time, every client is different. Mm-hmm. Some take, a long time. Some take a couple months until they figure out, or that light bulb comes up and they're like, oh, this is what I need to do. They get to it. And sometimes they need our support. For example, that's where the financial part comes back in. They find a job, but, you have to work at least those 2 weeks for the first paycheck or the second one it comes in, right? So then in that between, we help, right? We help until they get,
that transition period for them to start being self-sufficient.
Exactly.
So the organization really takes a individualized approach with helping each person individually on where their needs are.
Exactly.
That's really cool. That's really cool. What are some of the challenges that you face in your role as homelessness prevention program coordinator?
The hugest problem, or the challenge that I face or I'm facing, is, some people think about it as just a financial aspect. Mm-hmm. They think about it, they come in, they say, I need rent, I write out a check, and they don't get that it's case management based. They don't get that there are certain criterias or requirements that I have to meet with them for them to qualify for the program. Mm-hmm. and I will take my time. If it's 1 hour, if it's 2 hours, I don't want the client to walk out and say, I got a bad service.
Right.
Even though if I'm saying no, I explain it to them in great detail why we're saying no.
So that maybe they could fix that issue that you said no and come back later and still qualify.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
That's great.
Yeah.
In your, how long have you been doing this?
The specific role since October.
Oh, wow. So
Yeah.
relatively new.
Very,
But
yeah.
they decided to have you be the
I know.
face of the organization.
Yeah.
Wow, that's awesome. You must be
Yeah.
doing a great job.
Thank you.
What are some of the most common reasons for homelessness in King County or among the Iraqi community? Do you see overlap between the two communities, or are they different reasons?
I don't want to comment about the
The whole state?
the whole state of the King County, because that goes back to the employment and the high rise of housing right now, and I don't have the expertise or the knowledge enough to speak on that. But when it comes to my community, I know that in order to keep stable housing, you have to have the income coming in, and certain jobs require some sort of experience or language that my clients don't have. Or even if they do, it's from back home, but it's not transferable here.
Right.
So it's like, how do you get proof that this person has this experience?
It's different for each person.
Yeah.
Okay. Is there any overall themes that you see for how people end up in trouble with housing in your community? Is it mostly that disconnect between having a skill set that doesn't transfer easily to the United States and the proof of having that knowledge doesn't transfer easily to the United States? Is that overwhelmingly what the majority is, or is it other things?
That's one of them, and it's always a lot of things. If it was one thing, then we would have resolved it by now for sure.
Right. That makes sense.
And like you said, it is individual based. Every client is different. The problem and their situation of getting there is different. But what you said is one of them, or one of the great ones, which is their skills are not transferable, or if they have the skills, they don't have the language to apply it to the skills needed here in order to communicate. Safety is a huge issue with many jobs here, and if you don't understand or you can't comprehend the language, how is the client going to go about the safety of the place they're working at? Aside from the skills not being transferred, you have the system. They don't understand the system.
The system, like the economy here, or how do you mean the system?
The system of housing itself. I'm not going to talk about all types of housing. I'll just take the apartment based, which is what most of my clients use. It's different. You have the moving costs, you have deposit, you have first month or last month based on different apartment. You have the application process, you have the signing the lease process, and then the apartment could be an amount, but then you have the extra services. I can't tell you the number of times I had to explain and repeat what the extra services charge is to the rent. Like 20 plus clients.
What extra services are they being charged for?
Sewer, garbage, water,
like utilities,
As soon as I said that, you said, oh, right? They don't get it. Right.
So in the communities that these folks are coming here from, it's not a common thing to have a rent payment separate from a utility payment. All your housing payment is one payment?
Most of the time, yes. Most of the time it is. Or if you're renting a place, the water is, they're not the owner of the house. So a lot of things falls on the owner of the house. Or they communicate that through to them. They say, altogether, this is what you're paying, right? And instead of getting a bill of this month, you're charged, for example, 100 for the water, but then the next month you're being charged 150. So then the client comes back and you're like, you said the 100 was for the water, but now they're charging me 150.
Yeah.
So then I'm going back from zero and having to explain.
Gotcha.
Right.
Wow, that's a really interesting cultural difference.
Exactly.
That might make it really difficult to immigrate to the United States and assimilate into something new. That's a good thing to know. what are some of the partnerships or collaborations that your organization have used to help to aid houselessness and homelessness in Kent or the King County area?
Yeah, we're always, our doors are always open with other agencies. Each case manager differently, separately, and the agency as a whole. We're always partnering with different agencies at different events. We're always having them come over. We go over to look at the services that they have, and we keep in contact. For example, if client comes over and there's a service that I don't have, or what they need is not something that I'm able to help with, I don't just say no. I'm going back to my resources, looking at different agencies that might help the client. For example, with the homelessness, like I said, every program has their own requirements. If a client doesn't meet my requirements, my program, I have like 5 to 10 other resources that I could refer the client to.
Wonderful.
Right? And most of those resources, I have contact information, or I have actual contact with them. So when I send the client, they know where it's coming from. Right?
So
Yeah.
I'm familiar with your organization, but many people who are listening might not be.
Sure.
You're also very engaged in the Kent community with some other organizations, right? Like
Yes, definitely.
There are other organizations that have similar community outreach components
Exactly.
that are close by, I guess, to you guys. Can you discuss those too?
Yeah, we have the Horn of Africa. They're actually downstairs with us. We have the Ukrainian community. We have the Afghan community. We have the Somalian community that's with Mother Africa. And the list goes on.
Right.
I don't want to miss anybody.
Sure.
No
There's a
hard
lot.
feelings if I miss anybody. But we have a lot, and with our different programs, we reached out to them differently based on the service that we need from them or they need from us.
That's really important to make sure to call out, because I recently had Zenobia from the Kent Chamber of Commerce as a guest on the show, and she informed me, and I had no idea it was this significant, but Kent is the 5th most diverse city in the United States.
It is.
And it seems crazy, but when you go around, driving around Kent, there are so many different businesses and languages being spoken, and communities that are all landing in this small town of Kent for whatever reason.
Yeah.
And so having access to these organizations that help people to understand the differences from what they're used to American life is incredibly important.
Yeah, like that's if I go back and phrase what we do on a daily basis, it doesn't matter which program, which service, what we do as a whole is we work on the transition. The transition could be housing, could be transportation, could be resources, could be healthcare. We are in between, of the client that came from that cultural background. They're coming to America and they want to access these resources that I listed. We're the transition, helping them get to those resources, and at the same time empowering them so that they could reach it without us.
Right. And it's been really encouraging to be able to be a part of your guys' organization with Brumley Law Firm doing these Know Your Rights events, because it is confusing for people who were born and raised here to go through a car accident or to understand car insurance or to understand whether or not to get the police involved if you have immigration consequences. And there's so many overlapping worries. So to educate people who are a part of your community has been incredibly rewarding for me.
We really appreciated it.
Yeah, no, I love
we definitely
being a part
did.
of it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Can you describe a memorable experience that you've had helping someone overcome some of these obstacles?
Yeah, it's actually a success story. We have a single mom. She was facing domestic violence, and believe it or not, like she went to visit her husband, and he's still in immigration proceedings, and that's where she faced the domestic violence, and he was her source of income. He would send her money so she could get by with her son here. After that incident, she came back and she was in a different state. She She was in Texas, I believe. She came to Washington, and I'm not sure. I forgot how she found our organization. We started from zero. With my program, domestic violence, we do the moving costs too. We got an apartment. We worked on empowering her. We had her in ESL classes. That's one of the services that we have as well. Her English is, I think, on level 3 now.
Wow.
Like, she could communicate.
Right.
She could communicate. That's what we need, or what we would want. For most of our clients, they could communicate their thoughts, and they need what they need. We got her into housing. We got her into ESL classes. We have her with an agency, like I said, different agency. They provide what is it called, driving services. So they will help her get her permit, and then after the permit, they'll help her with the skills test. So after that, she's able to drive and not do that busing anymore. And at the same time, recently we applied for the Seattle Housing Choice Voucher, Section 8.
Right.
And she got it. She received it.
Wow.
We completed her certification, and she also got a job. So she's really like, and you can see that, the beginning, the way, when she used to come every day, right? And, every day she had a story to say, or every day she had something that was bothering her. But nowadays, you can tell she feels a lot more calmer and more relaxed because she has a path. She's empowered,
Yeah. Wow, that's a great story.
Yeah.
And that's just one story of
Many.
countless people that
Yeah.
you guys have helped since you've been engaged in the community here.
Yeah.
Can you talk about any advocacy work that the center is involved in? Are you involved in local government or any of the King County programs and outreach that the support that all these communities need outside of just Kent?
Yeah, we actually, so the organization itself in 1998, it started in Seattle, but after the new wave of immigrants and refugees down south in Kent, they relocated around 2011-12 to Kent. And now, actually, this year, we have a new office in Seattle. So we have two locations now.
That's really good.
So we're serving the King County and also Seattle area right now. I believe our manager, she's on the Seattle City Board, so she advocates for all agencies in general. When funding comes in, they decide what and who it goes for. Gotcha. So our executive manager, director, and our manager, they're out in the community. So you don't see them in the office a lot because they're always out there advocating.
That's great.
One story we had is with the resettlement agency, actually, where mistreatment was happening. They took it all the way up to the state. We have, I'm not sure if I can name people, but but it's the person that usually decides the number of people that would come into our state. They met with her and they laid out all the issues. So it goes all the way to the top when we're advocating for clients.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
That's really important.
Yeah.
What are some of the most significant needs that if someone's listening to this, they could help support the Iraqi Community Center?
Donations are endless. It could be clothes, it could be money, it could be your time, of coming and if you have a business or a resource, to just let us know you have that resource that we can access when a client needs it. Your time when volunteering, events. The list could go on.
So volunteerism from a time basis, money, clothes, items.
Yeah.
Is there any specific campaign that you guys have right now? Or is it like back to school or anything specifically that you're hoping for?
Not right now. I know we had a huge donations happening, and for the winter drive, it's past now, but for the winter drive, we had a lot of kids that needed jackets and shoes. So we had our community is just so amazing. As soon as we put that word out there on social media, every day, people are coming in bags, and we have our downstairs event room. It got filled.
Oh, wow.
It got filled to the point that after, most of the clients got what they needed, we have to tell them, you have to stop. We don't have space anymore. So it was
Wow.
really good.
That's a great drive.
Yeah.
I want to make a couple commitments to the organization while
Yeah.
we're recording this. Yeah, I want to say that on Brumley Law Firm's website, there's a nonprofit web store where people can buy T-shirts and other little silly Brumley Law Firm
Yeah.
stuff. On that web store, there's a drop-down menu for
Okay.
nonprofit donations. All of the proceeds of the sales of those items can go to a nonprofit, and your organization has been added to that list. So if you
Wow.
want to tell people in your
Yeah.
community that if they want to buy a silly Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Brumley Law Firm shirt, all the money is going to go to your organization. And
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. I'm going to additionally commit, while we're recording this, to donate $1,000 today to your organization.
Thank you so
just
much.
to help support the significant contributions to this community that you guys are giving. It's so important, and I
It
just
really
really
is.
value it.
Thank you so much. And every cent of that, it will go to people that really need it. If we have families, we do our best to help single people out there too. But our children and our youth are the most important to us. We really advocate to have every child and youth to have a roof on top of their head. Growing up, that's what my parents used to say. It's life. We go through things.
Right.
And I remember on many times my dad would say, as long as we have a roof on top of our head, everything's going to be okay. And it has been,
Right.
Things got resolved. We got into worse things in life, and it all got better because you have that roof. You have that home to come back to.
The stability.
The stability,
Yeah.
And that's what we want. We want every child and youth to have a home to come back to.
Absolutely.
So whatever donation we get, it's going to those families.
Well, if you're listening to this,
Yeah.
how can people make a phone call and donate, or follow you guys on the internet? What are the social media channels or websites that they need to look into?
We have our Facebook and our Instagram. They're very active, Even we had our most recent event that we put out there. The Facebook is a lot more active.
Do you know the link off the top of your head? I think it's Iraqi
I have the
Community
name.
Center.
Yeah, Iraqi Community Center of Washington.
Okay.
And they just changed the logo too.
Wonderful. Well,
Yeah.
We'll make sure to link to it on
Yes.
the podcast. And
Okay.
thank you so much for being a guest.
Thank you so much for having me.
It's been incredibly informative, and I hope that everyone who's listening spends a couple moments researching your organization.